Welcome to Revolutionary Motion, where we show you tennis from a different perspective. Here's how professional tennis players develop counter tactics for the game style of their opponents. They're looking at the game style and trying to think, what kind of ball can I hit to make it difficult for my opponent to execute their tactics? Now here's an example. If your opponent, for example, likes to moonball or just lob balls with topspin, think about if you are trying to hit this type of shot, what makes it difficult to execute this shot? So as an example, on a moonball, if you're trying to hit a moonball, it is really challenging if your opponent hits low slices. The reason being that on a low slice, you don't have a lot of space under the ball to lift the ball comfortably. So it becomes really challenging to lift balls on a consistent basis. Another example would be if your opponent just hits a lot of low slices. Now if that happens, the easiest countermeasures are to hit higher topspin balls. The reason being, the higher topspin ball makes it really challenging for the opponent to keep their slices low, which is really the dangerous part about a slice, when the ball bounces really low so you don't have any attacking angle. Now as you can see here, those two tactics counter each other. So that means they cancel each other out. So now you would say, okay, but how do I start hitting low slices against a moonballer if it's difficult to hit a slice when my opponent moonballs? And the answer to that is, no point ever starts with a moonball. Every point always starts with a serve and a return. So if you are serving, if your serve is good enough, your opponent will have difficult time to moonball. For example, you could hit a slice serve that stays really low already. If your opponent manages to moonball on that, now you have a problem because you're already starting the point off the way that you don't want to. When your opponent serves, on your return, you could hit a low slice already, keeping your opponent from moonballing. So it's really about how you start the point. So you can execute the tactics that make it challenging for your opponent to execute their tactics. Now, these are obviously not the only two tactics that you can tackle like that. For example, if your opponent loves to hit slices out wide or topspin balls with a good angle out wide, the toughest part about that is that your opponent has to get around the ball to get that angle done. So if you put them under pressure to the point that they cannot get to the ball early enough, they will not be able to use these types of shots. And you can see here, again, the same thing goes for every single one of your opponent's tactics. As long as you can identify what they're trying to do, you can think about, if I'm trying to do this, what can my opponent do to make it challenging for me to execute that shot? What kind of shot do I not want to see if I'm trying to use those tactics? And that's the tactics you should use against your opponent in a match in order to get them away from their main tactics and force them to use a plan B or C, which then means their quality of tennis will go down. Another couple of tactics that you have to find counter tactics for is, for example, if your opponent is a baseline player. You can see it in the warm-up, they don't like hitting their volleys, but they're very consistent from the baseline. Easiest way to deal with them, make them come to the net. Play a low short slice, have them come in, and they will not feel comfortable and probably miss a lot of easy shots where you feel like they should be finishing them off, but they can't. If you have an opponent that loves coming into the net, for example, play a lot of higher, deeper balls that they can't come to the net on. Try to keep them at the baseline because they don't feel comfortable back there. And this is the same thing for you and your own game. If you think about how you play, let's say you like to hit the ball really hard. What kind of player do you not like to play against? The kind of player that gets every ball back in play, ideally for them, if they got it even lower or higher, so it's not inside your strike zone, so you don't feel comfortable hitting the ball hard. That's how you tackle tactics in order to find the counter tactics that work.
Hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys soon.